What's up, YouTube? Zachary Michaels here. I'm an actor, and this is An Actor Reacts. Today we'll be talking about Season 3 of The Chi. Let's discuss. Before we get started, if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Season 3 of The Chi premiered on Showtime June 21st, 2020. The show was created by Lena Waithe and follows the life in a neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. Season 3 found the story refocusing following the firing of Jason Mitchell after Season 2, and on September 8th, 2020, the show was renewed for a fourth season. Okay, so Season 3 of The Chi. First, just let me say, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of Lena. I'm a fan of a lot of the actors in the show. But Season 3 was easily the worst season of The Chi. Lena, if you somehow see this one day and, we ever have the opportunity to work together, don't hate me and still work with me because, like I said, I'm a fan and I like a lot of your stuff. But I gotta be honest, this season was not it, and I was rooting for it to be it like, because I saw a lot of people doubting it, like after Jason Mitchell was fired, and I was like, no, Lena got this, like Season 3 is gonna be great. And then I was disappointed. But let's just get into the review. We're gonna talk about the good, the bad, and I'll tell you my rating for this season. And just a heads up, we will be talking spoilers just in case you haven't finished the season yet. So let's get into it. Okay, the good. Like I said, this is my least favorite season of the show, but there are some good things in it. Number one, my favorite element and part of the show has always been Kevin, Papa, and Jake. Like, they have been my favorite part of the show since Season 1, and they still are in Season 3. So when Jason Mitchell was fired, I was still like, well, for me, my favorite part of the show is still there, and maybe they'll get even more screen time now. So I wasn't like, I still saw a path forward for the show. And they, for the most part, didn't disappoint this season. I did, there were a few plot points that they had that I didn't think were necessary or were kind of out of nowhere. But overall, I still really enjoyed these three characters this season. Specifically, Kevin and Papa. Kevin, I really like his character, and I guess I kind of relate to him in some, because like his situation kind of reminds me of my own. Like, I was the gifted kid who got taken out of the city schools and put in the better school or whatever, and like I was really close with my older sister, so I like seeing that relationship with Kevin and Keisha. And then I just like to see him, like, he's a really good actor, so I like to see him kind of growing up both as a character and as the actor himself. And then, like, I like how they handled his, like, adolescence this season, like what he was going through with Keisha, and not kind of not wanting to be pitied at this new school where he's already like the scholarship kid. So I really understood a lot of that, and I thought that worked really well. And then his like battle with like trying to fight past with what he was feeling with Keisha, I thought that was done really well. And like really kind of his whole mental health struggle this entire season, I think, was handled really well. Like him not wanting to talk and open up to people, and then by the end kind of being open to therapy when Gemma brought it up to him, who I'm glad that he got a little girlfriend this season. And he lost his virginity this season. Like, it was a lot of big moments for Kevin. I'm not the biggest fan of Gemma. I do like her. I like the way she carries herself, but I feel like a lot of times she looks down on Kevin and Jake and all them, and I don't like that, how kind of judgmental she comes off sometimes. But I do like how she kind of was encouraging him to open up and go see her therapist, and she opened up about her seeing a therapist and everything that she had to deal with. So I liked that aspect of it, and I do like her. I just don't like when she kind of looks down on them. And then I thought Kevin, he was handled really well. And like Keisha's story, like once she finally came back, I thought that the way that he was trying to like navigate their relationship was really realistic, and I was like, yeah, that's how it would be. And like when he doesn't understand like why she would even want to keep the baby, and he's like, no, you gotta get, like, it was really real and authentic, and I liked his character's journey this season still. And then those three, Kevin, Jake, and Papa, are just really funny together. Like I love anytime they're on screen. They like I'm for sure gonna laugh. And then I liked Papa's storyline towards the end. He didn't have much to do throughout the season, but Papa never really does. He's just kind of the comedic relief, but he got a little more storyline towards the end of the season. I liked his kind of journey with his dad, kind of discovering that his dad isn't a god, that his dad is just a man. And that's kind of, reminiscent of like, because we all have to come to that point in our lives where we realize that our parents are just people. They're not perfect. And especially him, because I feel like he kind of worshipped his dad because his dad's a pastor, and so seeing him kind of come to terms with that this season, that I thought that was handled really well as like, Papa kind of questioning his religion. Like, I think that's real and authentic, and I think we've all been to that point. And him kind of, and that when stuff like that happens, and you kind of see it in this season, he comes, you find the religion even more, or your spirituality, I guess. You find your spirituality even more when you find that people and man-made religion and stuff can be flawed, but what really matters is your like connection with God. So I thought those two things were handled well. Let's see what else. And then again, Papa's just hilarious. He's a comedic relief. Like he's a grown little man, which is just hilarious. And that also kind of reminds me of myself at that age. Not as I wasn't as like grown little man as Papa, but I was definitely mature for my age. Let's see. Oh, and then episodes wise, I like enjoyed the pilot episode, and I enjoyed the finale. The rest of the episodes, though, I was not a huge fan of, except for episode 8. I thought episode 8 was easily the best episode this season. Honestly, maybe even the best episode, one of the best episodes throughout the series. That was the episode, it was right after Keisha had gotten home, and it was just her kind of, battling with everything that she'd just gone through and trying to adapt to a normal family. And that was the only episode this season that felt focused. It felt focused. The characters, we got to spend time with the characters. Throughout this season, it was jumping around so much, and things were just happening so sporadically. But episode 8, it was in one location. It was just at the house, and we were focused on Keisha trying to get better and how that affected her family and her friends, and Ronnie, who was connected. Like it was just so good. It was focused, and we really got to see inside Keisha's world and how she was feeling and how she was coping. And we got to see on Kevin's side how angry he was because, and again, which I get because I was really close with my older sister. So you're as the younger brother, you're always trying to protect them, and even when they're doing wild and stupid stuff, you like, that's your sister and you love her, so you're trying to balance all that. And then it's like that's in an even bigger situation now with Kevin because she got kidnapped. She could have died, and because you're always trying to protect her, you didn't do what you needed to do. So he's like angry at himself and her. And I just thought that whole episode was just done really well, and I wish the whole season would have had that kind of focus, because it did not at all, except for that episode. That episode was easily the standout. And then Burgundy Baker, who plays Keisha, she shined like so good. Like, I never thought she was a bad actor, or I didn't really have an opinion on her as an actor throughout the rest of the show. It was just kind of, she was there doing her job and she was good at it. But she shined and really got to show off her acting skills throughout the season, but especially in episode 8. I really loved that. And let's see what else. I was focused, not jumping around. Oh, and because Keisha, like episode 7 when she escaped, I don't know, it didn't give me the emotional beats that I needed. Like it was just kind of, she got outside and I was like, oh, okay, well now she's free, I guess. And it was just like, oh, okay, well, what's the next scene? But like episode 8, you really got to spend time with her, so that's part of why I really loved it, and it gave me everything that I was hoping for, involving her kidnapping. And then, okay, another good, Ronnie. Now, up until episode 9, Ronnie was on my bad list. Ronnie was, and probably he honestly still is, my least favorite character on the show. I no disrespect to the actor. I think the actor does a fine job. I just think that the character is so boring. And Rusty Ronnie, like that's so fat. Like you can't even. I've never rooted for Ronnie honestly, but you can't. It's hard to even when you like see him doing better. It's like, oh okay, maybe I'll finally get his stuff together. But Ronnie's always gonna ruin it. So it's just like, why? I don't care to watch this character who's one boring, and then two, I already know is gonna mess it up. So why do I even care? Like I religiously fast forward through Ronnie's scenes. I'll start them off, and I'm like, okay, I'm watching this, and then like a minute, and I'm like, okay, I honestly don't care. Let me fast forward. So I I'm glad that he kind of redeemed himself, but now he's off the show because I couldn't go through much more. I maybe he didn't need to die, but I'm glad that either way, whether it was him leaving Chicago, which I would have also been okay with just because he's off the show, or whether it's him being killed, though killing, there's like no possible way he can come back on the shy. And again, no disrespect to the actor, but just I'm not a fan of that character because you always know he's gonna mess it up, and then he's just boring on top of that, just always whispering around and it was just like, come on, I don't. Let's pick it up a little bit. But I am glad that he came through for Keisha. He got her out of there, and he got to have a nice, happy last day. I think when you're shot in the head, it's kind of you're dead instantly. So his final moments, he was super happy, and then boop. So as far as he knows, he was happy. Um, but I'm glad he got redeemed. But now he's also off the show. Unfortunately, he had to die. But again, I would have been okay with him just like moving off to a different town. But that's in my good because he got a nice closing to his journey on the show. Plus, that's realistic. Like whether you like it or not, whether you think you've been forgiven, whether you've moved on, there's somebody out there who didn't forget what you did. And like I was heated about that with Ronnie's character too, because he just kind of got away pretty easily after killing Kugi. So he got what was coming to him. Like I hate to say it, but he got what was coming to him. Like karma at the end of the day. But yeah, that's Ronnie. I'm, you know, eh. Let's see what else. And then just a couple small things good. I think the casting is really good in the show. Like beyond, like all the actors are good, but beyond that, like they look so much like each other. Like Kevin and Keisha look like real siblings. Papa and his daddy look identical. I feel like that might be his real dad. Like they both got that same like build, they similar facial features. Like it's crazy. Or like even like Trig and Reggie look alike. Neither one of them really look like Jake, but I'm guessing they have a different something in there. But like Trig and Reggie look alike. So they do a really good casting as far as the actors and just like putting families together nicely. And then my last good for the season, or really the overall show, is the music. I one loved just like the jazzy soundtrack of the show. That every episode that kind of puts me in like a nice moody place. I really love the jazz and the way they use it. Kind of reminds me of like Hey Arnold. I like binged that show recently on Hulu, and like they have a super jazz soundtrack for that, and I really like that. It just jazz music puts you in this like nice moody mood, and that really works for this kind of show. And then like the songs that they pick throughout, like shout out to them for all the like songs that they put in the episodes. Really good. Some of my favorites, like in episode 8, that song when Keisha was like in the bathroom, like I had to download that one. I can't remember the name, but that song was really good. A bunch of others throughout, or like they ended the show with Sue Me by Wale. I thought that was a really good choice because it's like rooting for everybody black, and you seeing this like montage of them like kind of building up and trying to do better in their lives. Also, it worked because he shouted out Lena in that song. I'm guessing that's kind of why she picked it. But it worked really well for the overall show and the vibe of what the Shy is and what it looks to be like going forward. But yeah, that's all I got on the good for season 3 of The Shy. Now let's get into the bad. Okay, so this season just seemed to be so, it felt like scattered brained. Like, and I'm honestly gonna be probably scatterbrained as I go through like my bads of this season, because there's so many things that were just happening randomly, and like so many unanswered questions and things that just went left unexplained, and it felt like a dream. You know how when you're dreaming and like you're on a story path, like you're in a supermarket and you're shopping, and then you drop a tomato and you go down and pick up the tomato, and then all of a sudden you're on a basketball court playing basketball with like Michael Jordan or something. It just felt like that, where it was like you be going on one story and then you look over and something else is happening out of nowhere with no explanation, with no backstory. It just so much jumping around, and I was just like, why? And like random new characters who didn't really add anything. It just characters would know stuff that they would have no way of knowing, and like again, no explanation for like new characters, and then they would spend a little bit of time on stuff that I was interested in, but like drag other stuff out. It just felt so unbalanced to me. Like Keisha, I like that they focused on that story about like, you know, black women and black kids not being cared about when they're missing. I thought that was good, but that storyline dragged out for way too long. Like she didn't get out until the 7th episode. And then I think overall my big issue with the season was just like unanswered questions. The biggest one being like how much time had passed between season 3 and season 4, because a lot of stuff was not adding up to me. Like at the end of season 2, Miss Ethel had just, you know, gotten back into her home from the hospital. You know, she was like fighting for her house. And then at the start of season 3, she's lost the house. She has dementia. She's in a nursing home. And then like randomly we find out that she has this like jazz club that she used to own that she literally never talked about in the first 2 seasons. And then like all of a sudden she dies. And you know, I guess they wanted to kill her off to like motivate Ronnie to find Keisha. And you know, since they were also gonna end up killing Ronnie off, I guess they didn't want like any loose ends in his storyline, so kill off his grandma. But it just was like, and like what even happened with that whole storyline with the house? That was like a big part of season 2. Like Duda and the 63rd Street mob were like buying up the houses in the neighborhood for like real cheap, and like conning the people and scaring them out of their houses so he could like, I forget what it was, but he was trying to build something in that area. And that all just kind of like went away this season, and it wasn't even mentioned anymore. Now Duda's like running for mayor, which that was something that just felt so random and then didn't really add anything to the story. Like it kind of more so was just like a setup for season 4. So Duda is like running the town, and he has Trig running the you know, the 63rd Street mob. But for this season, it just felt so random and out of nowhere. And then like they barely focused on it. Like it would just the campaign would just pop up randomly, and we get a little something, and then they go off. It just, there were so many things going on that things like that just like popped up randomly, and then they moved on, and then popped up again. It was just, it didn't really serve a purpose for me. It just felt like pointless watching that whole storyline. And like another thing that like got dropped off, what happened to bringing down Duda? Like that was a big part at the end of season 2. Like those cops who, though, like all the cop characters disappeared, but like they were trying to bring down Duda because he was such a bad guy, and that is nowhere to be seen. Because now, again, now he's running for mayor. It's like if you're being investigated by the police, I find it hard to believe that just like goes away and now you're running for mayor. It just like so many storylines like that just dropped off. And like speaking of Dudot, like he you know, Brandon's character was gonna be the one to like kind of infiltrate Duda's, whole thing and try to bring him down with the police. And of course, they had to kill off Jason Mitchell because of all that stuff that happened. But like, what happened to him? Like, did I assume that Duda killed him because maybe he knew that he was like part of the investigation? But we literally get no explanation at all. Like, I get why they had to kill Brandon off. I get it. But at least give us like some background. They were just like, oh, he died. Why? It don't matter. He died. It just felt so. And I was like, fine not getting it in that premiere episode because I was like, oh, well, they're obviously going to like, explain it out, how it happened, while they like, tell us what happened through Duda's story. But they just don't mention him again. I still want to know how he died, who killed him, what happened, like where are the police, why did the investigation stop? Like all that was just like thrown out the window this season. What else? Um, do do do. And yeah, I wasn't invested in that storyline at all because it just felt so random and like a lot of things in this season. It felt more like a setup for season 4. Like this season didn't even feel like it's so weird. Like I go back to the I don't know how much time has passed because whatever happened with that investigation, Brandon's dead now, and okay, so how long has passed between season 2 and season 3? Like how long were they investigating him? When did Brandon die? How did Brandon die? And then like Dre, what? How did Dre come into the picture? Because I don't get it with the timeline. Because they make it feel like only a summer has passed between season 2 and season 3, but that just don't make sense to me. Because at the end of season 2, uh, Kevin's mom was with Karen from the first 2 seasons, and they seem to be a pretty happy couple. So you're telling me over a summer, um, she broke up with Karen, met Dre. Dre moved in, they got engaged and got married all in the summer. That just doesn't seem realistic to me. I don't understand where Dre came from and why she even had to be inserted into the story. Like, what purpose did she serve in the overall thing? Why couldn't this have just been Karen playing that part? Which would have made a lot more sense because we've seen her since the first season and she has history with them. Like Dre just came in out of nowhere and like we're expected to care about her. Like, it was so random. And then I just don't like that character. Character was very annoying. She didn't know when to stop. Like she was always pushing boundaries, like packing up Keisha's room. Like you don't do that, especially after like it was what, a month, maybe 2. Like no, give it time. And then like she's always forcing something, forcing on Keisha, forcing on the mom, she's like forcing everybody. And she's a guidance counselor. She must be terrible at her job because she doesn't have any like finesse. She just like push, push, push. Like really bad character, and I just don't get why she was there or why she was added in. And she kept like saying, you keep saying your kids, but how long until it's our kids? I'm like, well, I need more than a couple months. Like it just didn't make sense to me. Like I understood why Keisha wouldn't like her because she came out of nowhere and now is stepping into this like she runs things. It didn't make sense to me, and that confused me more on the timeline. Like I said, because if it's only been a summer, because like at the end of season 2, Kevin was about to start going to the new school the next school year, so it's been, I'm guessing, 3 months because he's just starting at the new school. It just so like didn't like the character, and then the timeline didn't make sense to me with that. It's same with like Brandon, like how it just so much stuff that I'm confused about this season that was never really addressed, and they just expected us to accept. Let's see what else. Okay, Jake Duda and Trig storyline, kind of the same thing that I said with his mayoral storyline. It just felt kind of pointless to me. It felt more like a setup for season four. Uh, it just, it was like that it went nowhere. It just popped up randomly sometimes throughout the season, and you got a little bit and a little bit, and then it like ended so anticlimactically. Like they go to the hearing, and I was actually kind of excited to see like how they were gonna fight for Jake at the custody hearing, but then Duda just doesn't show up because he's just gonna give Jake to Trig so he can own them both. But it was like, then why did we have to go through this storyline throughout the season? And like, what was the point of them grabbing those documents from Duda's safe and then giving them to Camille's campaign, and then nothing came of that? So it's just that whole storyline felt pointless this season and just kind of like a setup for season four, which was just why? Like, did we even need to bring in Trig? I don't know at this point. Hopefully in season four it feels worth it, because it doesn't right now. Like they just let me move on. What else? Them anticlimactic end. I like wish that storyline had more of a fight to it. It was just kind of there. And then my like least favorite, well, not my least favorite, because one of my least favorite parts, I guess I should say, was Emmett this season. And I like the character usually, but for me, I like to see a journey of my characters. I like to see them grow. I like to see them developing. And Emmett, honestly, this season is getting into like Ronnie territory, where even if you root for them, you know they're gonna mess up. And it's just not, that's not interesting for me to see. Like, I want to see him grow up. Like, and he's just making the same old mistakes. And it's just like, my guy, like, what are you doing? Now, I will say I do like Emmett's relationship with Keisha. I think he's really good for her. Like their friendship, like he's the only one who's able to kind of to get through to her, and so I like their dynamic on that. But like, I don't like him with Kevin, because I don't want him influencing Kevin at all. Because Kevin's a good kid, and if he follows any of what Emmett does, then he's gonna be, going down the wrong path. Like Emmett is no Brandon for sure, and I love that Kevin says that to Emmett, like, you not Brandon, because you definitely are not. Like Brandon was not perfect, but like he had the best intentions. Emmett, it's like he doesn't even think sometimes. And like that was one thing that I definitely missed with them killing off Brandon, because one of my favorite elements of the first two seasons was that relationship between Kevin and Brandon. Like I love that like brotherly kind of bond that they had. That made the show for me. But I just don't get that same thing with Emmett, because Emmett's a kid himself. He doesn't know what he's doing half the time. Like, and again, he just makes stupid mistakes. He had a lot of storylines that were just, or like pieces to his storyline that were just random and just kind of all over the place. Like him and the girlfriend having to move in. What's her name? Not Keisha. Uh, I don't remember her name, but his girlfriend Tiffany. Him and Tiffany, like them randomly having to move in with the mom. That came out of nowhere. Like literally the first two episodes of the season, they were living in the little apartment that Emmett got at the end of season two. They don't even talk about things going bad or them like not having money. He's got the job at Sonny's and everything. She's selling drugs. And then randomly, again with no explanation, at the start of the next episode, he like, okay, we got to ask my mama to move in. Like it was just so and we saw no struggle. We just saw them in their apartment and then them walking with a trash bag to his mama house, who one has a one-bedroom apartment. And you just went back to that same kind of coddling thing. Like, so now he's still making no progress. Like, he was making progress by the end of season two. And it just, like, undid all that. Like, she had kicked him out because she wanted him to stand on his own. Now she's taking him, his baby mama, and their child into her one-bedroom apartment. Like, that's going backwards, and I need him to move forward. Or what happened to, like, he was taking the job at Sunny so serious, and he was the manager now. And wasn't Sunny gonna like open up a second location and have Emmett running it and stuff? And that all just went away. No mention of that. And it was just like, what is even going on here? And then like that was one answer that we got. We didn't get it to the last episode, but like what happened with the baby? Because at the end of season 2, Tiffany was saying that she was pregnant, and then they didn't mention that at all throughout the season until it came up with Keisha. So I liked how they did with that, but there were so many unanswered questions, other unanswered questions in the show that they didn't address at all. But at least they talked about that one. But I was just so confused on what Emmett was doing this season, especially with like the catering business. Because why is Emmett trying to start a catering business? Like, again, he had the job at Sunny's and he was going to be the manager at the new location and stuff. Like, that would have been an interesting role for him to go down. But for him to be trying to continue Brandon's dream just didn't make sense to me, because that was Brandon's dream, not yours. And you're not continuing it just because you open a catering business or just because you started a business in food. Because one, his dream was Coogies with all the like experimental cooking and stuff that he did. You were not doing that. You were just you can't cook, so I don't know how you thought you were gonna start that yourself. But then so you bring in Dom, and it's just like, so now this is just her recipes. You guys are starting a different restaurant. It's like it didn't make sense to me why he was going down that road at all, because it wasn't even in honor of Brandon, because Brandon's thing was Coogies. This was something completely different. And that's not your passion. Like, find your passion and do that. I don't understand why he was going down that road. But then him and Dom, now that was such a predictable storyline. Again, there's no progress with his character. It's like, oh, pretty girl, he gonna be working with her. Like, when in the first scene that we meet her, she has him pull down his pants. We already know where this is going. Like, come on now. It just it felt like, why? Like, I need him to grow up. And it just, I was so confused by it the entire time, because it was obvious what was going to happen, but they were trying to make it seem like it wasn't. And then it happened, and it was like, well, obviously. Like, it wasn't even a shock. Um, and then I don't understand how they even got Sunny's. One, I'm angry that Emma would even do Sunny like that. This man who has treated you like a son up until this point. And then you're going behind his back using his place. And then when he, you get caught and he gets mad at you and kicks you out, then you go and take it from up under him. And again, that storyline kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, like as far as them like taking over the restaurant. Because they like mentioned that he was kind of behind on bills before, but we didn't see really any real struggle from Sunny, like with the place. And we didn't, they were like, oh yeah, he's behind on bills, so if we do this, we can pay him money to the bills. Sunny got mad, kicked Emmett out, and then that's the last time we see Sunny. Then they just go to Lil Rel's character and like, oh, give us the place, we'll make a profit. And it was just like, oh, okay, why are you doing Sunny like that? And does Sunny not even get a chance to fight? It felt so. And then they were like, oh, we're gonna name it and keep it called Sunny's in his honor. But then the next episode, they're changing the name. Just so many inconsistencies. And again, I don't understand how they even got the place, because they catered this event, so you're gonna give them a restaurant, even on a trial basis. That it's crazy to take it away from somebody who's been there for years. Like, and Emmett doesn't even have a high school diploma, if I remember correctly. Not that that has to stop you in life, but that just seems like a way more risky business decision, to give the business to somebody, take it away from somebody who's already established in the community for a brand new business by someone who doesn't have a high school diploma, and you had their cooking once. The things aren't adding up to me. It just felt so, bah. Like, just, I don't, I just, I'm sorry. Let me see what else. Oh, speaking of his mom, real quick, Jada, her relationship felt random, thrown in. Like, we got like 3 moments with them, really. First one is them meeting at her job. The next one she's like meeting his family, which just felt rushed and super quick and just thrown in because they needed a plot for her, and it was like kind of sloppy. And then the next time they're like arguing over Emmett, and that's the end. Like, so many things they brought up, so many things this season, but they just were kind of thrown in and addressed once or twice and then moved on from it. Just scatterbrained. They were just jumping around throughout, and I didn't really get a lot of it. Um, it just felt it was I Emmett was the most disappointing piece of the season for me, just because there was no progress. Even Ronnie had progress this season. Emmett had no progress. If anything, he regressed. I I hope he can get it together in season 4 and I like, actually grow up. And him marrying Tiffany, that's bound to end bad. It just more bad decisions from him. Like, you cheated on her. She's bound to find out. And then what? Like, that's gonna go nowhere fast. Like, they're probably gonna be getting divorced next season. It's disappointing. A lot of things, and I've probably forgot so many random things that happened throughout this season because there were way too many. It was so disappointing. And again, I'm a fan of this show, but this season felt like we missed a season. It felt like this season was the plan for the actual season 4, but because of what happened with Jason Mitchell, they had to cut out what they had planned for season 3, and we just jumped right into this, and then left a million things unanswered throughout the season, and just like added in a bunch of new people to try to like cover up the bandage. And they didn't need to do that. If they would have just took their time, like they did in episode 8, took their time and not try to establish all these things for the next season, then we could have actually gotten somewhere and grown with these characters. But instead, it was just like a bunch of things like thrown at the wall to see what sticks. It was it was a disappointing season, to say the least. That I think that's all I got for my bad. Again, I probably left some things out because there was just too many random things to remember, too many unanswered questions to remember, just too much going on. Point blank period in this season. So leave a comment below. Let me know some of the things that maybe you liked in this season and some things that you did not like. Some things that you still want the answer to, because there is a lot that I want the answers to. But that's all I got for bad. So now let's get into my rating for season 3 of The Shy, and I'll tell you my hopes for season 4. Okay, so season 3 of The Shy. Pretty simple final thoughts on this one. Kind of back to what I said at the very beginning of this review. This was easily the worst season of The Shy for all the reasons that I mentioned throughout this review and a few more, honestly. But it did have some shining moments throughout and some moments that I really enjoyed, especially episode 8, because they slowed it down, took their time, it was focused, and Burgundy really got a chance to shine in that episode. And then, honestly, I'm always gonna be here for Kevin, Jake, and Papa, because they make the show for me. They're the good mix of like coming of age and comedy and drama. So as long as they're part of the show, I'm always gonna be rooting for it. Okay, so my rating for season 3. Now, I was kind of going back and forth between what I wanted to rate this season, because I'm a fan, but I was really disappointed in this season. So I ended up going with a 6.5 out of 10, which I think might be kind of low. And maybe if I go back and watch this in a few months after like I'm separated from it a little, maybe it'll go up, maybe it'll go down. But usually it goes up when I'm kind of disappointed in something and then I go back later and watch it, just because I have such high expectations. And then when my expectations aren't met, I'm disappointed in the moment. But then when I go back, I'm able to kind of see some things that I couldn't the first time. So maybe it'll go back up when I watch it in a few months. But for right now, it's a 6.5 out of 10 for me. Maybe a 7, but we'll stick to 6.5, which isn't failing. That's like right on the border. Like 65% in high school, you were still failing. I mean, you were still passing, but you were right on it, like 1 point lower, and you would have been failing. So, that's what I got on that. So season 4. I just, again, I hope it's more focused. And honestly, I'm willing to kind of, leave this season as an afterthought and like, enter season four with fresh eyes, no expectations, and see what they're willing to offer. Because they, like, again, like I said, throughout this season, they set up things really well for season four. So hopefully it's executed how it was in like the first two seasons. And I'm even willing to let go of all the unanswered questions that are left from this season. And again, just like start season four anew. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing. Let's see. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing Keisha's storyline and like if she's gonna keep the baby. I feel like she might. I think she's gonna end up keeping it and maybe even try to raise it. But I think she's gonna ultimately, maybe not if in season four, but I think she's ultimately gonna end up giving the baby up for adoption. But that's just my little prediction. Who knows what might happen? And I'm looking forward to seeing that relationship with her and Kevin kind of, de- develop and grow more and see them kind of coming back together because I do love their brother sister bond that they have. And then Kevin, I'm more interested in seeing him grow and all the new things that he's gonna discover about himself and the world in season four. And then just like his relationship with Gemma and his friends. And I'm also interested to see like if something comes of that because they dropped a little nugget in the season about Jake actually liking Gemma. That's why he acts like he hates her so much because he like has a crush on her too. So I'm interested to see if something comes of that in season four. That could be an interesting road to go down between them because they always are kind of every season clashing. So now they've got Kevin's got a girlfriend. If Jake likes her, that could be something interesting to watch in season four. Um, and then speaking of Jake, I'm interested to see like his storyline with Trig and Imani because I liked their little dynamic that we got to see some of in the finale. With like Imani, like you will respect me. I'm not your mom, but you got to treat me a certain way and do as I say. So I'm interested to see how that whole household develops. And shout out to Jake for being so accepting of Imani because, you don't expect that from a kid like Jake because he's so bad, really. He's so bad and potty mouth. So you wouldn't expect him to be so accepting, but I like that for him. And again, I'm just excited to see how that story develops with him, Trig, and Imani, and now Trig like gonna be running the 63rd Street Mob. And I think that'll bring kind of more of the street element of the show that this season didn't really have since Reggie died. And that first two seasons had that, so we'll kind of get that element back in the show. So maybe it'll help balance things out a little bit. Let's see what else. And then I'm interested to see more how Papa develops. Is he gonna be like rebelling a little more against religion and his dad in this next season, or is he gonna, gonna return to the Papa that we know and love? I'm interested to see, where that story goes, and then like how his relationship is gonna be with his dad this coming season, because he discovered that his dad is just a man, and I'm sure he lost some respect for him. So how will that go? Because we saw him getting a little disrespectful in the season finale. So is that going to continue? And then like what's going to happen with his dad like snitching to the police about Duda and all them? So like a lot of good things that they're setting up for season four. I wish this season would have been a little more focused itself. Um, let's see. Oh, and then Emmett. Honestly, I don't got a lot to say about Emmett. I just hope he gets his stuff together in season four and like actually grows up. But I'm pretty sure things are gonna get a lot worse for Emmett before they get any better. Um, let's see. Okay, yeah, that's all I got on season three of The Shy. It was just a little too all over the place for me, but I'm a fan of the show. Still, I'm gonna be there for season four watching. I'm actually kind of excited for season four because, like I said, all the things that they set up, I just hope that they execute it right. And the potential is there. Like we saw what they can do when they're focused in episode 8, which again is maybe one of the best episodes of the series. But I'm excited for season four, and I'm gonna be there watching and probably reviewing. And I hope it I hope Lena and all the writers and everybody, gets back to that same standard because I really love this show the first two seasons. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on season 3 of The Shy. What did you love? What did you hate? Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thanks for stopping by. See y'all next time.